All right. Welcome and thanks for joining us this evening. There are a few things I want to say before we get to hear from the students, but I promise I'll try and be brief. I wrote everything down, so I won't go off course. So we'll get started. I'd like to start with a land acknowledgement. California College of the Arts campuses are located in Huichin and Yalamu, also known as Oakland and San Francisco, respectively, on the unceded territories of Chochenyo and Ramaytush Ohlone peoples, who have continuously lived upon this land since time immemorial. We recognize the historic and active discrimination and violence inflicted upon Indigenous peoples in California and the Americas, including the forced removal of ancestral lands, the deliberate and systemic destruction of their communities and culture. We honor Indigenous people, past, present, and future, here and around the world, and wish to pay respect to local elders, including those of the lands which you are joining us virtually today. Hi, I'm Joseph Jocks, and I'm one of the faculty members in the photography department here at California College of the Arts. On behalf of the college and my colleagues, we are excited to welcome you to see and celebrate the BFA thesis work of Yifan Chen, Drew Daffner, Megan SooHoo, and Caitlin Stone-Collonge. This is the second and final set of photography BFA student thesis conversations, but there are 6 more events for other majors. Please go to cca.edu/exhibitions for the complete list. At the risk of sounding like a graduation ceremony, I want to take a minute and acknowledge the hard work that this graduating class has done. Completing a college education and making a meaningful, cohesive body of work is a challenge in the best of situations, and this past year has been anything but that. Many students have had personal losses, had to move homes, lost their studios and tools for making their work, lost access to their subject matter, and lost their in-person community. Some even had to change colleges amid a pandemic. And these are just a few of the examples of obstacles these students have overcome. It's truly inspirational to see these students overcome this with kindness, generosity, and adaptability. They have continued to make work and think creatively. They have persevered and even thrived to make what you'll see today. It's truly an honor to be a part of their artistic and academic journey. I'd like to welcome the friends and family that are here today. So much of the work done here at CCA is done behind closed doors, and it always feels special to share it publicly. This is generally when the faculty get to meet the support network behind the students is at the BFA show. We don't get to do that this year, and I'm disappointed, but I'm very excited to see you here. So thank you for joining us. I also want to thank Jamie and Brindis in exhibitions for all their hard work putting this together. And also Brianna and Tori, the 2 studio managers that have done a tremendous job supporting our students and faculty, both virtually and in person. I'd also like to acknowledge the photo faculty who have helped guide these students. Chris Johnson, the chair of the program, Aspen Mays, Nelson Chan, Monica Bravo, Abner Nolan, Sune Woods, Jackie Bates, and Alice Shaw. It's quite a list. Before I introduce our special guest respondents, I have a few requests and items to share. Each student will present for 10 minutes, followed by 10 minutes of conversation between the student and the guest respondents. You are invited and encouraged to share affirmations with the students via chat. Please note there's not time in the agenda for an audience Q&A. However, the chat will be shared with the speakers after the event. Please keep yourselves muted during the presentations and the conversations. I will be the timekeeper, and I'll keep our event flowing from one student to the next. The presentations will proceed in the following order. We'll start with Yifan Chen, Drew Daffner, Megan SooHoo, and then Caitlin Stone-Collonge. Now I'd like to introduce our respondents. Yang Li is the curator at OCAT, a contemporary art museum based in Shenzhen, China, where she works with artists and curators worldwide. Since starting there in 2019, she has partnered with the curatorial teams to finish 2 individual artist exhibitions and 4 group exhibitions. She holds a BS in Industrial Engineering from Purdue University and an MS in Project Management from Northwestern University. With her interdisciplinary academic background, Yang wants to involve more interdisciplinary artists in exhibitions and help broaden the art world. She is currently pursuing an MA in curatorial practice at California College of the Arts. Thank you so much for being here. Our second respondent is Sasha Phyars-Burgess. Born in Brooklyn, Sasha Phyars-Burgess graduated from Bard College in 2010 with a bachelor's in photography and went on to earn an MFA from Cornell University. Phyars-Burgess was the artist in residence at the Center for Photography at Woodstock in 2015 and has exhibited her work in the CK Gallery in Berlin and Shoot the Lobster in New York. She won the Diane Dammeier Fellowship from Columbia College Chicago and the Capricious Photo Award from Capricious Publishing in New York. Welcome and thank you for being here today. That is all I have to say. So without further ado, I'd like to invite Yifan Chen to go right ahead.
Alrighty, thank you, Joseph. All right, hi everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Yifan Chen. I'm a senior photography student. I will be sharing my senior thesis and talk about how I get to where I am today with y'all. So I was originally born and raised in Guangzhou, China, which is right here, located in southern part of the China. And I immigrated to the United States with my family in 2013. My experience with art started all the way back when I was 5. And these are some of the earliest drawing that I did. And I have always had a passion for quote unquote art since then. However, I didn't know what art really is until I went to CCA. During the first semester of my freshman year, I was put into our 2-1 black and white photography class, and I just totally fell in love with this analog medium and decided to put my feet into the world of photography. And for my artistic practice, I am always intrigued by my experience of being a new immigrant in this country, going through so many challenges with my family and coping with a new environment in this country together with my family makes me ultra aware of my family relationship. Oftentimes, my work delves into the ideology of family and the controversies of cultures. Talking about my influences, my thesis work originally started with my mom's archives. By looking at these archives images and hearing my mom talking about each of them, and then connecting to the image that I have of her, a lot of questions arose. Questions like, how does my mom feel in the family? What is she always complaining about? Do I pay enough attention to my own mother? Does she regret moving to this new country? Does she mean it when she says something cruel to me? Am I suppressing my mom in a way that I don't even realize? And so I began this ongoing investigation on my mother. Another inspiration would be Larry Sullivan's well-known Pictures from Home. It really inspires me to think deeper about the ideology of family and leads me to think critically about my own. Another inspiration is Abia Han. She is an artist based in Singapore that I recently found out in Sunday's class. Her use of food in her work really inspires me to explore the food culture, as well as stories related to food in my family. And I will be talking a little bit about my previous works. This is a film book project that I did back in 2019. As the only person immigrated to the United States in her side of the family, the only connection my mom has with her own parents is through phone. And these are 2 manipulated screenshots of my mom FaceTiming my grandma, who is still in China. I am recreating this invisible trans-Pacific bond between my mom and my grandma in these images. And then another project is You Never Appreciate the Things I Have Done for You. It is a project that I deeply explore the question that I have about my mother, about how she feels in the family and the complex relationship between us. It is a series of photographs discussing the conflict that my mom is having with the family. I basically brought my mother to the lighting studio and documented her in a way almost like an investigation. The power dynamic is flipped in this series, and I start to ask myself what the ideal mother-daughter relationship should be like. And that leads to my thesis. So batsigai is a Cantonese dish that is often served in family gatherings. It is also one of my grandpa's signature dish. Both my mom and I grew up eating this when we were still in China. I will go over the slide first, and then I will talk a little bit about them. So it says ingredients: 1 freshly butchered chicken, 2 pieces of ginger, 2 hours of mundane conversation, single-ended dialogue. What should I add to the soup? Should I add some mincemeat or should I just leave it? Well, it's 11 o'clock already. I thought we have the time to mop the floor. Why didn't you put the noodle into the refrigerator for me? You saw it on the table and you did nothing. Should I put the beef in the freezer? It's not good to leave them in the bottom, right? They will go bad easily. I think I'm getting old, haha. I had bad headache and my neck hurt really bad last night that I woke up at 4. I was just talking to your dad last night that there has been so much pain on my body for the past couple years. And yeah, I'm old. Your grandpa is so funny. You know what he said when I gave him the box of grapes this morning? He said grapes are off-season fruits and they're not healthy, but he said nothing about the blueberries. This is so ridiculous. I asked your grandpa to wait for me, but he wouldn't. He is always in a rush and grandma can't walk that fast. I told him that if he doesn't wait for me, at least wait for grandma. My hair is dirty. You think I should wash it tonight? But I don't want to wash it because my head will hurt more if I do. Try it, the meat is so tender. No one taught me how to make batsigai. I just watched my dad making it all the time when I was still in China. And I somehow just started making it when I was living with your dad. You will make it on your own too when you're old enough. And so in this project, it demonstrates the trans-Pacific relationship between 3 generations in the context of an immigrant family through the complex process of making the chicken, along with transcribed discussion on encountered anecdotes and health concerns. I am able to identify my mom as an individual person. At the same time, I realized that she no longer sees me as a daughter, but a person that she'll be willing to share many things with. I used to find myself constantly in a loop of self-questioning and trying to replicate the ideal family image by forcing myself to talk, even though I'm not a person with a lot of words. In this project, I am actually reconciling and accepting the inevitable in my family, like the aging of my mom, the separation between my mom and her parents, as well as me being silent in most of our conversations. And beyond graduation, this has been a question for the past year and I haven't come up with a solid answer yet. But as for right now, I am currently working, taking my thesis and making it into a physical cookbook where I will continue my research on food and family relationships. And but talking more broadly, I will continue my exploration in a similar direction by applying residency and fellowship, as well as working even like commercially in the photography industry, hopefully, to financially support my own project. And that's the end of my presentation. Thank you for hearing. I want to say thank you to my friends, my family for always being supportive and open-minded, friends and peers, and all of my professors who have provided so much support in my studies, especially Aspen, who saw my potential at the very beginning and really encouraged me to continue this project. And also my manager, Brianna and Tori, for being supportive all the time. They are the best. I'm just super honored to have the chance to work with every one of you. And to follow up with my work, please check out my Instagram and my website. And thank you.
Great job. Thank you for sharing. All right, I'd like to go ahead and invite our respondents to start responding. Sasha, would you mind going first?
Yeah, thank you very much, Yifan. It was really great to, see all the work, and I had a lot of thoughts, but I was just wondering, like, how would you like what, I don't know what this is quite, so I want to know, what is the best way for us to spend this time? Like, would you like me to tell you about things to do after you graduate? Do you want me to talk more directly about the work? Like, is there something that would be really helpful for you right now?
Yeah, definitely. If you can talk a little bit about my work and give me some feedback, that would be really super helpful. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I really, the project that you showed, it made me think a lot about the way that we pass things down to each other. And I've been thinking also about migration, because everybody's an immigrant now, right? Like, everybody, nobody has like a stable home anymore. And what I really liked about this project was the way that I felt like I was in the kitchen with your mother, and she was cooking and talking to me, and like, it reminded me of when I'm in the kitchen with my mother and she's cooking and she's telling me things, and then she's like, oh yeah, and then this guy down the thing, like, because my family's from Trinidad, so it's like there's always like, she's like transferring multiple histories to me at once. It's like the food, the like our history, and I don't know, I just really felt that very profoundly throughout the work. I also felt as though the choice of color that you use as the background was good.
Mhm.
I'm glad you didn't choose white, because white would have not looked that great. It looked really good, like the photos with the kind of, what was it, like a taupe, like a yellowish background, and then the text, like it felt like I was going through a book with you, and like, I almost wish there had been like an audio component or something, like it really felt immersive.
Thank you. Thank you for
Mhm.
feedback.
Is it?
Yang, do you have some feedback you'd like to give?
Yeah, I'm so appreciated to be here with everyone and listen your work during the past year. I found that it's really enjoyable for me to listen about your story. You got inspired by the people around you and what happened in the daily life, and you just use like a daily dialogue to show in the work. I just have some batching guide during last night because I'm currently in Shenzhen. I really like the color you choose, as Sarah talked before. It's super relevant to your work, and um, and how you like put the three generations into the work. I'm yeah, just want to say congratulations. Really
Thank
like
you.
your work.
Thank you for your input.
Also, I just wanted to add like this. I know that you said, I think it was like toward the end of your presentation about what you were going to do in the future, and like you have multiple things, but this is like a really good. This is really good work to do as like a continuous project, because I feel like following food and following the histories of food is always really interesting, and then you get to eat food and make photographs, and that could be fun.
But that will be a lot of work on my mom too. But yeah, I will definitely. I am actually working on the other dishes that my mom would make, and eventually, hopefully, it will become a book. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I think that'd be great.
Yifan, did you have any specific questions for the respondents?
Not really. It's great to hear all the feedback and like the insight, and it's super helpful. Yeah, thank you.
Does anyone else do any of the respondents have anything else they'd like to add before we move on? No.
Yifan,
Wonderful.
Joseph, would you mind if I just chime in for a quick second?
Go right
Breaking
ahead.
the rules. Yifan, it was just so wonderful to see this new work. I know I haven't had a chance to see what you've been up to for the last little bit, but it's just such a pleasure. It's so wonderful to hear you speak in the voice of your mother. And I love the way that you outline those questions that you've had. I think that those are the big questions that we all wonder about, where we come from and who shaped us. And it really comes through in the work. It's really beautiful. Thank you and
Alison.
congratulations.
Thank you. I miss you.
I miss you too.
Great. Does anyone have anything else they'd like to add?
I just want to say congratulations, Yifan. It was a wonderful presentation, and I just, like we've talked about before, just the culture that is related through the making of the food, and like even the conversations that that you've had with your mom. They're so intricate and complex through their mundane simplicity, and I think that really is revealed in the work, and it's been wonderful working with you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Great. And thank you, Yifan, for sharing your work and for telling us a little bit about it.
Thank you.
All right. Up next, we have Drew Daffner. Drew, are you ready?
Now can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay,
We
sorry.
can hear you.
Hi, I'm Drew. Welcome to Emerging into Drew's World. I was born in California, but I grew up on the East Coast, and I have always loved art. I love that you can do so much with it. I didn't start off as a photography major. I actually was going into film, but when I went to SFAI, all the things I enjoyed about film, the ability to capture motion and story, I realized you can also do that in photography, and my passion towards that built. So I ended up wanting to do film, and now I am finishing up at CCA with their wonderful welcoming community. So my work is a study of the inner child. As we grow up, this childhood within ourselves seems to live on, and we develop a side that parents this part within our own self. The idea of tender care adapts as we take our own hands and complete tasks that range from the mundane to the intense. My work imitates the chaos mind we once misunderstood and expands on the control and acceptance that comes with age. Learning to take care of ourselves, accepting all our emotions, and still clinging on to the wonder and love we carry throughout childhood. Through photography, I'm able to document performance, sculpture, and poetry in a way that embodies the chaos within, which you will all be seeing. I have to click. First artist who really inspires me is Alison Schulnick. She creates work that is just like hauntingly beautiful. She works with dancers a lot to capture this exquisite motion and movement in her work. And she has these what she calls lonely creatures that she places in semi-abstract environments. And I just love like the youthfulness that she incorporates, but it's like creepy at the same time, which I just find really, I'm very drawn to that. Next, we have Trenton Doyle Hancock. Specifically, Mind of the Mound was a piece that I was lucky enough to go see. And this was one of the first times that I got to see an artist really create an entire world within a space, being able to incorporate sculpture and rooms basically, and comics, paintings, video performance, which I loved, and just like you're really immersed in this world that they've created. Something I also really admire and strive for in my work is his ability to have these like childish tones where he's still dealing with such intense issues and it doesn't feel as scary as it does feel educational. So the first work I'll be showing is a series of self-portraits where I tried to, for myself, embody the inner child and kind of these emotions and trauma and experiences that we might not have been able to understand as kids. I have to move this. My work, I write exactly how I think. So if it's spelled wrong, that ties into my dyslexia. And this is something I incorporate in all my work. For me to have it be very raw and very much in my own head is very important. So the writing is supposed to be incorrect and messy and exactly how I would have it be. I'll read these quickly. Alphabet soup. I've always loved the idea of alphabet soup. All these letters that we are taught make words that form feelings. All these letters mixed around in a big bowl, creating abstract nouns and verbs. As if in a haze of illness, they seem to be similar language to thoughts in our heads, only there to tease us. Will I get better? And this is the next one. Your wish is dumb. Birthday wishes seem so stressful. 1. Blow out every flamer doesn't count. 2. Eyes must be closed until it's completely dark. 3. You only get one a year, so think long and hard. 4. Make sure no one blows out your candles. So many rules to follow to make my wish count. Since I was 13, I just started to think of everything I'm grateful for and say thank you instead of wishing for more. I've never told anyone that. Rule number 5, don't share your wish or it won't come true. Imaginary friends. Leaving my room, 1, 2, 3 steps to the door, and a wave of forgetting hits me. Forgetting to say I love you to mom, forgetting to clean up my room, forgetting to slip my feet into my shoes. As I wander to the park with a guided hand to hold, I remember the one thing I can never forget, my imaginary friend. Playing with me at the park, splashing her toes in the water, eating the snacks packed with a tender touch. The fear of forgetting leaves my mind and enters the comfort of never being alone. So this next piece and the piece after this are works in progress. This specific one is something I hope to continue forever. It is titled Umbilical Cord, and I have constructed this sculptural-like cord that interacts with environments outside. And the cord is put together with objects, material, just anything that connects to specific childhood memories I have of like my grandma's house or her backyard or places I've been to, just things like that. So what I do in this piece is I will walk it like a tightrope and then I'll wrap it around my whole body and then I cut it off of me and retie it. And this piece for me is me connecting to our Mother Earth. And then as I do this performance consistently, new things are pulled into this rope, like stones and dirt and water, sticks, like anything from that environment I'm in. So it's constantly growing and absorbing. And it's really refreshing to just kind of connect myself, deconstruct that connection, and then put it all back together with gaining so much more. So I have a short video for you guys. It's not how I would present it, but for time's sake, I will just show you clips of it. Okay. Okay. Let's get back to this. So this last project, I'll just restate again, is a work in progress for me, and something I hope to continue for a while. This is kind of a comment on, I'm not sure how many of you remember this, but being a kid, I was always so like interested in the fact that they put missing people in milk cartons. And then I remember when I was a kid, they would put like cartoons of missing people, which I thought was really funny and odd. So this series is titled Missing Emotions, and it's about, through childhood and growing up, how we kind of lose specific emotions, or maybe we don't understand them, so we can't express them. And I did that through magic milk. I put like on one side like a kid cereal box. They have like a brain maze, like fun games, and then I have nutrition facts, which are pretty much the same except for the different emotions being portrayed. The 50% changes. Just for time, I decided to only show 2. So for the pink one, what's missing is compassion, so it's tears. And then for the green one, what's missing is anxiety, and it's 50% puke. Here they are. I put them in the streets of Berkeley, and I try to make it look like milk spilling out of them. And you can see here the missing anxiety one. It says last seen 33 seconds ago. And then I describe what anxiety looks like, and I tried to do a drawing of what it might feel like to me. Same with compassion, last seen unknown, and I try to embody what that emotion might be like. Thank you so much to everyone for coming and listening. Thank you to the CCI community for being so welcoming and giving me a sense of home. Thank you to Joseph for putting up with me and my millions of questions always, to my friends, Olivia, Caitlin, my family for all the support, and my partner for the most support, and just everyone who's contributed to my existence. So thank you.
Great job, Drew. You were exactly at 10 minutes, so good job. All right, Yang, would you like to give some feedback first?
Yeah, Drew, I won't say it's really a fantastic series of work. That I was very proud to your own space, listen to your own story. And I'm curious, is that the selfie story, the background you use in your toys or your handwriting, hand drawing? I really like that part.
Thank you. Yeah.
And I'm also curious about, are you have any plan for the future after graduation? Like,
I like to play things by ear because I think life just always throws opportunities out there randomly. But I do hope to go to grad school and.
You're muted a little bit. You're a little bit muffled, Drew.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. I do plan to go to grad school in the future, but for now, I just want to kind of focus on creating more and just like owning my craft a bit. So.
Yeah, I really enjoyed looking at your work, and what I liked about it was your willingness to like incorporate so many different mediums into the different things that you do. And I do think that like I understand your like impetus to do it, because I see that there's some things that work more for like a certain project than another, or certain ideas. But I really like the way that you're exploring a bunch of different ideas and like a bunch of different mediums, but using kind of the same interest and subject of like the inner child, or reconnecting with this piece of yourself that I don't know, goes missing, gets beaten out or something. And so something that I was thinking about was just like yeah, like your kind of desire to get to this like core self. It seems like even I really liked the umbilical cord earth piece. I really liked that because like right away I was like it just looks visually very striking. And then to see you perform the piece was really, really cool. Because when you were explaining it, I like didn't understand what you were saying. But then when you showed it, I was like, oh, okay, I understand that now. And like the way that you kind of go to the different sites and then do and like have this moment where you kind of get to be in nature. And the photographic project specifically, the one where you were like layering all the things, like Yang said, I really liked like how you had the like the scribbles in the background, and then the other, then like your poem where you written in pieces, and the photographs. And the photographs were, I really loved those photographs. They were really great. Like, I really liked the wide angle lens, and like it felt very like I very recently saw it's like not that great a film. I very recently saw Clockwork Orange, and it really reminded me of all that, like the and yeah, it was just kind of like those type of aesthetics, those kind of like 60s pop aesthetics. I feel like it's been a minute since I really got a good look at them, and it reminded me of like those kind of bright colors. And yeah, it was really cool. I don't know, I'm curious, like where do you like want to put the work in galleries, or how do you kind of see yourself continuing your journey artistically after you graduate?
First off, thank you so much. I'm like choosing so big right now. Thank you. I definitely would love to do like a huge gallery space, and for those pieces, I have taken into consideration how I would set them up and everything.
Mhm.
I think when I try to make a body of work that's congruent, I always imagine the space first, which helps me.
Mhm.
But yeah, I would love to like, it'd be so cool to see it in this kind of like own world, you know. I definitely, the performance one is something I want to continue a lot. My partner and I are actually driving all the way to the East Coast, so I thought along the way could do it in so many different like spots, you know.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's a little more challenging on how I might present it, but I think I'm like that one was the most passionate one for me. But yeah, a gallery would be awesome. I'm always like thinking about that in the back of my head.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, I really feel like in a, I don't know. There's this artist. Sorry, there's this artist that you probably know about. Their name is Macon Reed, and they did this art piece called the Dyke Bar, where they, I don't know, you just look at it. I think it's, but they do really immersive, crazy stuff in galleries, and yeah, that's like why I just mentioned that. But I think yeah, it would look cool in a gallery space. Silver.
I looked it up. I love like seeing how people use gallery spaces in like some untraditional ways, and I was like, that's cool.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, check it out.
Yang, do you have any artists that you can think of for Drew to look at?
I'm trying to thinking about one who's I see the work which uses a similar color like Julius. I will try to find that out. I've just seen him in one of the gallery. I will try to find out and put it into the chat.
Thank you.
Yeah, and anyone else who has artists they're thinking of, put it in the chat. That'll be very helpful, I think.
Mhm.
I'm going to chime in again. I can't resist. It's so great to see all of you who I've had a chance to work with this semester. Drew, congratulations. I love your spirit shining through at all times. And I was really struck tonight by thinking about the way that you're communicating with it, the way the great performers can reach an audience of children, but you also sense that they're winking to all the adults in the room at the same time. And I felt that tonight in a really profound way that made me think about some of your work from last semester and some of the animation work, that the audience for your work I actually think is quite broad. And it really speaks to kind of a kind of intergenerational experience. And it was really interesting to see the work performed, because I know you had just started some of that in the fall. But congratulations, it's great to see everything coming together.
Yes, I miss you.
Yeah, and just to add to that, like I see that you're starting to build this world for yourself, and I think it's really exciting where you're starting to build all of the things, and even your background that you did this presentation with is like you're on your way, and it's really nice to see this trajectory, and I hope it continues well past your time here.
Thank you.
Did you have any specific questions for the respondents?
I don't think so. As this project, I like went through so many times, and just until I asked him like a million questions, so I feel like I was just taking in all the feedback. So thank you guys so much.
Does anyone have any last thoughts to add? All right. Well, congratulations, Drew. You did a fantastic job.
Oh wait, actually I did have a last thought. I'm so sorry.
No, don't be.
But
That's
someone said, someone was writing about comics in the chat, and I just wanted to, yeah, like you should go back to every single TV show, dog, cat, weird thing you watched when you were young, and just have a good time.
I will for sure. I love like childhood cartoons. That's like a big influence on me. So
great. Thank you so much, Drew. Okay, Megan, are you ready to take the floor?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right.
Just let me bring up the slide. Hi everyone, my name is Megan Zhu, and I'm a double major in photography and sculpture. Today I'll be presenting my photo senior thesis work. Some background information that you might not know about me is that I was born and raised in Los Angeles. Currently, I am also based in Los Angeles. I come from a multicultural, multi-generational upbringing, surrounded by American and Cantonese influences, along with other cultures and backgrounds. I am third generation American on my dad's side and first generation American on my mom's side. I can also speak 3 languages, Cantonese, French, and English. Growing up, I enjoyed making art and explored the many different mediums that spiked my interest. I always knew I was going to pursue something art related in the future, but it wasn't until my last 2 years of high school when I realized I wanted to do that specifically within photography. Then in my second year of college, I decided to add sculpture to my degree because I wanted to have a more diverse experience, broadening my technique within 2 mediums that I loved working with. 3 artists that influenced my overall intuition of how I go about my work are Ai Weiwei, Oliver Eliason, and Yayoi Kusama. These are just one example of each artist's work that inspired me. Ai Weiwei's Life Cycle, Oliver Eliason's The Weather Project, and one of Yayoi Kusama's Infinity Room series, All the Internal Love I Have for the Pumpkins. These specific artists challenge the concepts of our reality and create a dialogue of what human existence entails and truly delves into the matter at first glance. 3 artists that resonate with my most current work are Teresa Ng, Jordana Jurisic, and Larissa Sansor. These are just one example of each artist's work. Teresa Ng, Speaking of Scars, Jordana Jurisic's Museum, which is the photo book with artist Paul Mahan, and Larissa Sansor's In Vitro. All 3 artists approach the idea of how our society functions and investigates what we can do better with the help of empathetic conversations through their work. I'll first start off by sharing past work, which led to my current thesis project. In my second year at CCA, I began exploring more of a personal approach through my work, where I did various projects examining my identity, culture, and upbringing. I hope to gain a better understanding of the world around me by using my own personal experiences to further investigate how our community and surroundings influence our mentality. The first project, Gungung's Letters, explores my yearning to reconnect with my grandfather, who passed away too suddenly, through the use of letters that he wrote to my mom as they were separated across the ocean for 6 months as she was adjusting to living in America. Through this process, I learned a lot about my family members and past instances of how my immediate and extended family could have had different lives and experiences. I also learned about the connection to what I know now about my family. The second project, For Repetition 8, delves into the complexity of using iconography to investigate my understanding of my grandma, whom I never got the chance to meet, along with my sisters, as well as not knowing much about her growing up. In a way, it was like she was a ghost-like figure throughout my life, and I wanted to learn more about her through my mother's eyes and descriptions of her. The third project, Peculiar Events, documents weird instances of my life that that stood out to me and still challenges the way I think back on my life today. In doing this project, I learned this various ways of bookmaking, narrative, and sequencing, how they truly matter and can create a sense of personal memorabilia with each reader that experiences it through each page. The fourth project, Blend of Two Cultures, is the duality of having two cultures that influenced my childhood and allowed me to see through two halves of one lens. The fifth and sixth project, Reclaiming My Name, Sita Wingway, and Poetic Flower are two physical reclamations of my Chinese name, one being the actual Chinese characters in the form of a Chinese coin to represent the luck in my life and family. The other is the visualization of what my Chinese name means, which derives from plum flower that my sisters and my name both contain. In addition, while I was working on this project, I realized after almost finishing the piece that I coincidentally created 7 individual plum flowers stemming off of the branches, which would have represented my immediate family members at the time. The last project, Physicality of Intangible, is an ongoing project that I hope to publish into a book, one that navigates my relationship with my Cantonese culture and how removed I feel from being Cantonese. I grew up in the US with knowledge of my culture and traditions, but never fully understood it in its entirety. Through this project, it was more of an acceptance of what I couldn't change, but to be grateful of the customs that have been passed down to me and how fortunate I am to have them at all. Combining double exposures of my second trip to China and Hong Kong and my form of phonetic Cantonese, English, and Chinese characters illustrated a way for me to showcase the blurred lines of language and place, specifically how it has been connected and used throughout my life. Which leads me to my thesis. Idea of Being, Things You Carry, Things You Go Through is a body of work that focuses on the traumatic childhood experiences I faced, spanning over 2 decades. This is the first attempt I have undergone to explore the trauma in a physical form through the use of family archives and my own photographs. In this series, I examine childhood trauma with the help of landscapes, portraiture, and the domestic space. In the process of undergoing countless personal writings to truly understand the extremities of the mental, physical, and sexual abuse I faced, I was able to gain a better understanding of how to cope with what happened to me and really try to flesh out all the things I've been unknowingly holding in. Being forced to return home due to the pandemic, I found myself confronting the place where all the traumatic events occurred and realized that for me to move forward, I need to let the past stay the past. I'm just going to run through it. These are just a few of the spreads of the book, of the final book. Reliving those emotions of being alone by myself in a corner crying aloud. Then came punishment, stand against the wall, felt tribulations of the treatment that I always endured. Told I had to or else, I thought something bad would happen. I thought the worst would happen. The necessary separation from what happened, who I was then, who was there, who was capable of such things, who was nowhere to be found, who had to grow up earlier than she should have. We all need a childhood. By creating this work, I've realized there's a much bigger issue at play. The fact is that within our culture and society, we are taught to leave things behind closed doors, in the past or as forgotten, especially within Chinese Asian culture. The fact is, in doing so, it creates an unhealthy way of how we go about life. This further develops negative health problems that could result in diseases and mental health issues. The photographic process has allowed me to juxtapose a narrative to speak to the experience as an adolescent, how it has shaped me, and how I currently express those circumstances now. Ignoring these life-altering events have caused more visceral repercussions than I'd like to admit, but ultimately I feel the need to speak my truth, acknowledge the ignorance and neglect that occurred, and take ownership of what I went through. My future plans are to graduate this coming fall in both my photography and sculpture degree, create a physical exhibition to go along with my photography work for Idea of Being, Things You Carry, Things You Go Through, make the physical books for Idea of Being, Things You Carry, Things You Go Through, and Physicality of Intangible, do some refining for the Poetic Flower project. After school, I hope to apply to some internships, residencies, grants for a bit, and then apply to graduate school in fine arts or photography. I wanted to thank my family and friends, peers, professors, specifically Nelson Chan, Alice Shaw, Aspen Mays, Joseph Jacques, Roby Wallace, Clay Jensen, Anya Phillips, Joe Malamed, and Chris Johnson, and everyone in attendance today to see this BFA conversation. I truly appreciate the support and guidance from each and every one of you. And here is my website along with my Instagram handle below. Thank you.
Megan, that was wonderful. Thank you for sharing that work. Sasha, would you like to chime in?
Yeah. Thank you, Megan, very much for sharing your work with us today. I'm just going to talk about it kind of like in each section that you saw it, because I felt as, because that's how I remember it and that's how I wrote it down, really. But so it was interesting to see the way that you transit, like your past work being a lot of objects, besides for the Physicality of the Intangible. That series was photographs, and then you went into this photographic work. And so in the sculpture work, so it was kind of a surprise for me to see the work that came at the end, because what I felt as though you were leading up to was going to be, something different, or some kind of like work with objects and different things like that. So the reason why I say all this is because it's really, I see the way that you kind of had to deal with your culture before you dealt with this, if that makes sense. And what I really liked about seeing the sculptural objects was this kind of a lot of it you were using very earthy, I wrote prehistoric materials, but I don't really like that word. But a lot of earthy, very natural materials that you were making your objects. You were building with wood, you were, different, you made these stones. And I feel like that kind of in-depth investigation of who you are and where you come from means that you then have to deal with the other stuff, which is this thing happened to me and no one knew how to deal with it, and how did my culture contribute to what happened to me? And I think that it's I think it's very brave to do something like that, because I don't know if I could do it. It's not easy to put yourself, to lay everything open like that. And I really, the sequences that you were making in the book, because I know that you like the way that you showed us, felt like there was some really powerful sequences. There was a sequence, it was 3 children, and then a bathroom mat, and then there was the repeated bathroom imagery that was really ominous, and it felt palpable, and then the recurring images of I guess I'm assuming it's yourself as a child, and it was very sensitive work. And I think the amount of space that you left with each image was really appropriate. I think that you were very restrained in a lot of the ways that you put things together, and I could feel the restraint or something like that. I think it's really, I don't know what you'd like to do with it, but thanks for sharing it with us. And thanks. I'm thinking of, I don't know if you've seen the work of Maya Abril. Maya Abril, I'm not quite sure. I'll type the name in the chat, but she did this, y'all probably already know this. She did this project on abortion and women's rights. And the reason why I bring this up is because she categorized it in different chapters and things like that. And I could almost, if it was something we were interested in, see you exploring these things further and taking it to several books or something like that. But thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, I've actually never heard of that artist, but I will definitely check it out. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And congratulations.
And I just feel so grateful to hear you like share your experience, and which requires a lot of the courage. And I can definitely see the tension that it put in your work between yourself as an inside and the public too as an outside. And as you mentioned that you are both the photographer and also do some sculptures, and I just kind of curious in what circumstance you prefer to use photographs, and in what circumstance you prefer to like use the sculptures to represent your ideas and inspirations.
For me, I kind of have different connections to sculpture and photo. I feel within photography, at least, it's harder for me to dive really deeply into it. I think it takes more complexity in terms of the concepts. But within sculpture, for at least my past projects, I realized it's a little bit easier for me to work with my hands. So I think both mediums have different aspects that I enjoy both, but I don't think I ever would have been able to choose one or the other. And that's why I decided to do both within my college career. Yeah.
Megan, congratulations. So powerful to hear your words tonight. It was really emotional to hear that. I'm so, yeah, I really appreciate your vulnerability and sharing all of that. And I think it really speaks to what so many of you all have gone through this year, and just the unknown dimensions of returning to where you're from, or all the different ways that people have been displaced in this time. And just as your teacher and from investigations too, it's really exciting to see your evolution in sequencing and editing and bringing this work together, and really understanding how you were playing the images off of each other from your archival work from your childhood, and placing them, as Sasha mentioned, like in such a dynamic tension with other things. And I know you were starting to do that in investigations too, but it just has this depth now that's really sophisticated, and it makes something like a flower in the garden suddenly feel loaded with tension and power. And it was really strong. Congratulations. It's great to see.
Thank you so much, Aspen.
Yeah, and I'll chime in a little bit. Just seeing the images, the story is so profound and it's told so well. The images, I feel like I didn't get enough time to quite contemplate them as much as I want. And so I love the idea of this as a book or as a physical object, because I think, you know, as I looked at them, there's a lot to look at in those images, and to compare and to spend a little more time with it, I think would be really nice. And I do think when these stories happen, when you're telling such a profound story, sometimes the images get lost. And I think that the strength of your image making really creates that tension in a nice way.
Thank you.
Did you have any specific questions for any of the respondents?
I don't think I have any further questions. I just appreciate the feedback and you all being here. Yeah.
Does anyone have any last thoughts? Maybe some artists that Megan could look at. I think the idea of the exhibition that's going to happen in the fall is a really interesting idea. Is there any guidance that anyone can give? All right, well, we can put it in oh, please go ahead.
Do you mean guidance in terms of like installation, or, sorry, I'm just curious.
Just any sort of feedback that you could give as far as how this work is going to go into the physical realm, maybe. Well, if anyone can think of that or have other feedback, using the chat would be great. All right, Megan, thank you so much. Congratulations. Okay. Now for our final presentation, we have Caitlin Stone-Collonge. Are you ready to go?
Yes. Thank you. Okay, can everyone see this and hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted to start out by saying thank you to Aspen and Sine, and very importantly, Joseph, who has been with me since SFAI and has supported me so much, and I appreciate all of you guys so much, so just thank you. My name is Caitlin Stone-Collonge. I'm a photography major, and I'm a transfer from the San Francisco Art Institute. This is me. I have experience in the world and have been a part of institutions and spaces that inform the way I see the world. My work is exploring these facets of my life that have had meaning to me, and my practice revolves around immersing myself in the spaces to see it in a new way. Whether it be from diving into archives or physically exploring and documenting places I once held space in, my work stems from a curiosity of myself. And then this is a prompt from when I was in kindergarten. Well, if we were in charge of the world, what we'd do. And I said, if I were in charge of the world, I would hope everybody's okay. And that still stands. Okay, my inspirations. I'm inspired by Thomas Struth's curiosity about the world around him and his large-scale works. Struth looks and inspects cultures and societies through what we deem important. Through his architecture work, we see his fascination and his critique about the human experience and condition. I'm inspired by Tina Barney's ability to capture candid photographs of family as a spectacle in all facets of life. She creates bold and wide images that feel like we are looking at moments we should not be. We are involved in a moment in a life that is not our own. I'm also inspired by Timothy Archibald's relationship with photography and his relationship with his son through photography. Photography as an activity and a means to connect. This project that he did with his son is a collaboration of ideas, and his son uses his creativity to come up with characters and personas for his father to capture through the camera. Together, they created a book filled with gentle collaboration of images and drawings. Familial but not familiar. Familial but not familiar is a 13 by 19 horizontal book filled with images from my family archive. Upon opening this book, you'll be met with full bleed pages and very little room to breathe. You'll be met with places and faces that might mean nothing to you. You will embark on a nonsensical, nonlinear journey. You may be aesthetically satisfied, and at times, and in other moments, deeply frustrated. What you are seeing is entirely yours. It is not mine. When you engage with this project, you are somewhere else entirely. This is a project utilizing the family archive, and not only working with a family archive, but working with my own. I'm not going to tell you a story. You will not know a narrative. But what I will tell you is this much. Dealing, handling, viewing, and manipulating my family archive of images has strained and it has healed me. This project is a manifestation of grief and confusion and devastation, as much as it is a project inspired by trying to discover and unfold what family means to me. I have felt like it was my responsibility to tell a true story through my family archives. Family has always been in the stories that are shared. With an endless abundance of stories to fill my memories and psyche, the desperation came from trying to see and figure it out and make it all make sense. Once I released myself of that burden, that I have to be the vessel of truth, this project came pouring out of me. When looking through my family's images, whether the pictures were taken by my great-grandpa or my great-aunts or my grandfather, there was an acute care of frame and connectedness to the subjects. I was inspired by the color of the Kodachrome. I was inspired by the attention to detail and interest in framing. It is clear my family, like myself, was very tuned into art of photography. Photography as documentary and photography as play. The astounding landscapes and the intimate photos of people and family life that I see captured in these frames feels like a performance for the camera. My great-grandfather once said something of the ilk of, if a photograph does not have people in it, then it is not a photograph worth taking. Taking this into account, I picked out a wide variety of images, including many that exclude people. The carefully contrived subject matter matched with my careful curation of images based on tone and composition have created this satisfying collaboration between me and the archives and me and my family. Expanding, familial but not familiar. This book will mount to many versions and expand to many volumes. It will grow and become something new every single day. This project is alive and it breathes. The lives of the bodies that take up the frames, whether physically present anymore or not, they are alive and they breathe in this project. Other versions of this project have included moments of ephemera from my family archive, and I will continue to play with those pieces of ephemeral material as well as explore my family's archive of Super 8 film. What's next? Recently, I have been working with my very own archive of images. Here are 5 spreads from a book of images that I am creating exclusively with images of myself. Rediscovering and reintroducing myself to this beautiful girl through images has felt like a meditation and a journey of spiritual enlightenment. Through this project, I feel like I am reconnecting with the self within myself. Working with such delicate and intimate images of my growing up, I am reconnected with the importance of self and importance of taking care of this precious vessel and existence that is me. Through cropping, I have found a focus, a lens of self-love, focusing on my hands as they explore the world around me. Throughout time, the hands that have always unconditionally been there with me and to support me. I see the girl in these images and I want to support her. I want to protect her. This project, entitled Beautiful Existence, has been heavily informed by working with my extended family's archives. Through this process of creating familiar but not familiar, I have found the narrative I was looking for all along. That project brought me back to the one thing that is most important in my world, me. So after graduation, I plan on taking time off, maybe having internships at galleries and museums, and then in perhaps fall of 22, I would love to continue my education in curatorial studies. That is something that's fascinated me for quite some time, and yeah, so that's my plans after graduation. Thank you all so much. Here's a website that I'm currently working on, so it's not available yet, and then my Instagram.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yang, would you like to start us off?
Yeah, thank you, Caitlin, for your software work. I really appreciate to listen to your story, and I just feel like the work it reflects yourself, and which makes me think of myself, how I was grew up at this point, and also how you rearrange the different pictures, which also brings me so much imagination to create a story by my own with these pictures. So it's not just a connection between you and the photos, but also the audience and the photos as well. So really appreciate your work.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was really, I also really appreciate your work and your sharing this work with us. Someone in the chat said that the writing was really good, and I agree with that. Like I just saw, because I'm like seeing the little things pop up, but I really felt like you really carried us through this. Like it really felt like a good narration. Like it was poetic. It was yeah, it had so many like all these different elements to it. It was very direct at moments, you know, and so I really liked how the writing took us through. But I was thinking about the first body of work, like the family archive work that you had shown. And it's so interesting. So it was from multiple people in your family, not one person. That's really cool because they fit so well together. And it's interesting to think about like do personal aesthetics carry over from your family or something like that? It was like you were like picking up random photos and like pairing things together. And I know you said that it wasn't like a narrative, but I was like trying to think of like, you know, I guess there's like this thing that we as humans do is like we see a thing together and we like try to build a narrative. But then I was thinking like, you know, it's like less of a narrative, but maybe like a non-linear experimental memory data bank. That's what I put there. But it's quite cinematic. So it almost reminded me of like, you know, the movie, what is it? The Eternal Spotless Sunshine. Well, you know what movie I'm talking about? Yeah, and you know how they go and they like are taking memories away. Like that's how it felt like you were taking a memory out of one part, like juxtaposing it next to another memory. It was like shh, 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 shh. But you can't remember what the actual memory is. It just leaves you with a feeling, which is like really what memories do. They just leave you with feelings. Exactly. And I really like I felt that a lot. I felt that as well in the first one. And then the second one, I think your archive as a way to revisit yourself and as a way to like be good to yourself. Like you can't look at a picture of yourself when you're like a baby and be mad, because why would you be mad at a baby? And then it's kind of like, well, why do I need to be mad at myself? Like I do see it as like a form of self-care almost, to like revisit your childhood and be like, there's things that happened, but it wasn't me, it was like the world. And I think as you like continue to go through your archives and stuff, you have like such a strong aesthetic vision, it feels like to me, or something like that. Like you're very, like even the black and white work that was of your family archives was so like aesthetically strong looking. And yeah, I'm curious to like what you will continue to do with your archive, all the different archives that you have, and how you'll like, you know, the images that you make now and images that your great-grandfather maybe or great-grandfather, might sit beside each other. So yeah, it was really cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious, are you going to keep doing the archive with these things in the future?
Yes, I'm going to keep working with archives, my family archives as well as my own. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Cool. It's very compelling and very powerful.
Thank you.
Caitlin, congratulations. That was awesome. It's so great to, you know, I just want to also really point out that you're such a beloved member of this community and you just got here. And just to see your comments in the chat for your classmates is really powerful to me. It's, and to see this exchange and the kind of supportive relationship that you and Drew brought to my class last semester was to me like a real model for supporting each other as artists. And I hope that you never lose that. I can't imagine that you would, but I just really appreciated that so much. It's great to see all the work in play here. I know I mentioned this last semester, but it felt like it could have been from some kind of manual, like, gee, isn't photography great or something. Like it's like the love of the way that amateurism is practiced in photography, and the way that it has this incredibly broad reach, and then you're bringing this kind of extra layer of expertise that you've gained from being in school. It's just a really powerful dynamic. It's a kind of work that makes me kind of fall in love with the medium all over again. So it was really strong and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Aspen.
Yeah, I think a subtitle for the work could be "For the Love of Photography." But Yang, I was interested in your thoughts about how this work might fit into a more curatorial career. Since you're studying curatorial practice, do you see this work with archival images and more personal narratives happening?
Yeah, like archive is the most important thing in the current curatorial practice learning. Like like people are trying to maybe like they're just kind of it's kind of way to show a history and your own identification. What is your own perspective? What are you seeing the world would like? Will cause the archive you're working on. So I think you're really in the right way to doing these things. And also, I really like your writings, which is another very important skill in the curatorial practice way. So good luck.
Caitlin, did you have any specific questions for the respondents?
Did not. I just really enjoyed hearing everyone's feedback. It meant so much to me. And yeah, this is something I've worked on for a very long time. So I'm just happy.
Pretty amazing. I saw your work maybe a few weeks ago, and you've done quite a bit since then. So congratulations.
Thank you, Joseph.
Does anyone have anything else to add? All right, thank you so much. Well, I believe that's all we have for today. I really want to thank Sasha and Yang for being our respondents today and for giving thoughtful feedback. And of course, I want to thank all 4 of the artists for sharing their work and for giving us such thoughtful context to view the work. I know presentations aren't everyone's favorite, but you all did such an amazing job. I really thank you for sharing. If you want to see, for the audience, if anyone wants to see more of this work, there's the websites that were posted on their slideshows. There's also the CCA student showcase with varying degrees of doneness, but that is where the work will live for these students and then all the other students that are graduating this year. I'll put the link in chat so you can check that out. Does anyone have anything else they'd like to add before we finish for the evening?
Just saying a congratulations to everyone, Caitlin, Drew, Megan, Yifan. Very good.
Absolutely, congratulations.
Congratulations, everybody. You were amazing. So inspiring to see your work. So inspiring. You brought so much to this. Awesome. You should feel really proud of yourself.
All right, well, thank you everyone for attending and have a wonderful rest of your evening.